Okay, so...
Detective Jack Leon checked his phone. An email from the coroner had just come in. It was the autopsy report for a murder he was working on.
It was the autopsy report for a murder he was working on.
48-year-old Henry Lambert lived alone in a house in the west end of the city. After he missed 2 shifts at the local manufacturing plant where he worked, someone at his place of employment called the police and asked them to perform a welfare check. Officers went over to his home and found the front door unlocked.
Mr. Lambert, City Police Department.
Henry, are you home?
Mr. Lambert?
No answer.
10-2, no response for the welfare check at Henry Lambert's residence. The door is open. Please advise.
Hey, let's just go in and see if he's okay.
After Henry didn't come to the door, the officers let themselves in.
Mr. Lambert, we're coming in to check on you.
Hello?
Some people are kind of worried about you, and we just want to make sure you're okay.
Mr. Lambert, are you in here?
Henry?
Oh, that's the boy who used to live next door.
Oh, my God.
My, how he did
Oh,
his
boy.
chest.
Well, that can't be good.
Call it in.
On the couch in the living room, they found Henry's body. He had been dead for several days.
He had been dead for several days.
He was still sitting up on the sofa, and the television was still on. It appeared that Henry had been shot in the right temple because there were burns and marks that were consistent with a gunshot wound. But what was odd was that there was no bullet wound. As Jack read the autopsy report, he was even more surprised to learn that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. It appeared that Henry had been struck in the right temple with an incredibly small object. The strike broke his skull, and shards of the skull entered his brain. This caused hemorrhaging, and Henry died within minutes. The medical examiner wrote in the email that more testing had to be done, but she thought she could determine what the murder weapon was. In the meantime, Jack decided to talk to the person who most likely saw Henry alive, Jesse St. Clair. Jesse was 34, and he worked with Henry at the plant. Jack had gone through Henry's phone and discovered that Jesse was the last person Henry talked to. In their last text conversation, Jesse said he was coming over to watch a football game and told Henry to leave the front door unlocked. The football game that they were supposed to watch together happened 2 days earlier, which is around the time that Henry died. After Henry responded to Jesse's text message, no text or calls were made from Henry's phone. Jack reasoned that Jesse was either the last person to see or at least talk to Henry before his death. Jack knocked on the door of Jesse's apartment.
Jesse St. Clair?
Jack asked.
Yeah. Who are you?
Mr. St. Clair, I'm Detective Jack Leon. May we step inside?
The look of sheer terror that came across Jesse's face caught Jack's attention. But Jack had interviewed enough people to know that look doesn't necessarily mean someone's guilty. They may just not like cops. Jack had checked Jesse's criminal record. He had some minor arrests, mostly for being drunk in public. He had never been sent to prison, and he had never been charged with a violent crime.
Yeah, please, come in.
Jesse said, and Jack stepped into Jesse's apartment. It was immediately apparent to Jack that Jesse was a big fan of movies. There were movie posters on his walls. On one wall was a giant TV. On another wall was a collection of Blu-rays. Jack did a quick scan of one of the shelves of movies. There were a lot that he recognized and some others that he didn't.
Oh. You're a movie buff, Mr. St. Clair?
Jack asked as he scanned the movies.
You could say that.
Jack turned around, and in one corner of the living room was a desk with a laptop and an expensive camera. There were also some movie props.
Do you make movies yourself?
Jack asked.
I've dabbled. Nothing more than a few YouTube shorts.
Fascinating. I always wish I could get out to see more movies myself.
Something tells me you're not here to talk about movies.
No, I'm not, Mr. St. Clair. Do you know why I'm here?
Because I was one of the last people to see Henry alive.
That's right. Now, can you tell me about the last time you saw Henry?
Sure, but there isn't much to tell. I drove over to Henry's house, we watched football, and had a couple of beers. After the game, I left, picked up some dinner, and then I drove home. I was sober, of course.
Okay, and what game was it you watched?
It was Bengals at Ravens.
What was the final score?
I honestly can't remember. All I know is it was a blowout.
Okay.
Ravens won.
Anything unusual happened during the game? How did Henry seem? Was he nervous about anything? Did he seem upset?
No, like I said, it was pretty uneventful. Henry didn't seem worried about anything. He was a Ravens fan, so during the game, he was definitely feeling good.
And what happened when the game was over?
Nothing, really. I got up and left. I stopped by a fast food place to pick up a burger meal. I even got the receipt somewhere around here. If you give me a second, I'll find it.
Jack considered not letting Jesse out of his sight. He could get a gun and come back into the room shooting. But Jack got the sense that Jesse wouldn't do that. So Jack said,
Yeah, go ahead and get it for me.
When Jesse left, Jack looked around at the posters in the room. Jack was only a casual movie fan, but he knew how all the movies were connected. Jesse reappeared in the living room.
Here's the receipt.
He then handed the slip of paper over to Jack. Jack read it. It was for a bacon double cheeseburger meal on November 10th, 2019. It was purchased at 5:03 p.m. EST. Jack handed the receipt back to Jesse.
Thanks, Mr. St. Clair. Now, do you happen to know of anyone who might have wanted to hurt Mr. Lambert?
Jesse mulled it over and said,
No, I can't think of anyone that would want to hurt him. Henry was just an ordinary guy. He worked, he drank beer, and he watched football. He never went on dates. I can't remember the last time he dated anyone. He didn't do anything risky. I know he wasn't involved in illegal drugs, and he didn't gamble.
Jesse shrugged his shoulders.
Sorry, Detective. I don't know who killed Henry or why they killed him.
Jack nodded his head.
Okay, Mr. St. Clair. Thank you for your time. If you think of anything else, please let me know.
Jack then handed Jesse a business card. Back at the station, Jack got an update from the coroner. She had figured out what killed Henry. Jack got up from his desk and walked to his car. He had an arrest to make. How did Henry Lambert die?
How did Henry Lambert die?
Thanks a lot for watching today's video. We'll have the answer to this video next Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. An hour later, we'll have a brand new mystery. Thanks again for watching, and good luck with your investigation.